Hey, it's me, Mr. Olson, and what we're going to be doing over these next whole bunch of videos is looking at different thinking skills, different thinking routines, really ways of making thinking visible. Now, with each of these, including this one, there is going to be a worksheet or an activity that accompanies it. This very first one, just because I like you, even though I don't know you, but I may like you if I did know you, but I might not actually like you, but I'll still give this away to you for free, is the very first cheat in this, one to look at thinking. I'll explain it a little bit later on. So you're going to see a link for that, and you're going to be able to see all the other sheets that go along with this series. Okay, so I've got grand ambitions of having about 30 of these, and I would love to be able to interact with you about it and hear ones that maybe you want, that are helpful, that aren't helpful. So what's this very first video about? Well, it's just a basic general introduction to making thinking visible and why we should do this. I know when I entered teaching, I was always, and I think teachers still are, very daunted by marking, by the amount of content that we need to cover in any given lesson or subject. And a lot of the time we don't even know why we're doing it. We just kind of look at a CAPS document if you're in South Africa, or your curriculum policy or subject policy, and you're like, okay, cool, I've just got to get through these. Let me grab the worksheets that some others have done. I'll change them up a little bit. I'll add in a few of my interests in there, or the kids' interests, and there we go. But really what we need to boil down to, what we need to get to before we get to that, is what is the point of education? What is the point of teaching? Let's get all meta on this and say, why are we teaching? What do we want our kids to know and be able to do and to value? And what we go to a lot of the time is Bloom's taxonomy. If you're not sure what Bloom's taxonomy is, it's that hierarchy of different levels of learning, really, and processing. And we look at that and we say, okay, cool, well, we've got to remember, understand, apply, and all of those. But really what that comes down to, understanding isn't a precursor to application, analysis, evaluating, and creating, but a result of it. So it is through creating and analyzing and evaluating that we are going to get to understanding. We want our children to get to understanding, to be able to place things in the world and the relations that they have. What's the relationship of mathematics, of addition, with space travel, with biochemistry? Why are we doing this? And if we can make those links and help them to understand that, we're going to have well-educated, well-prepared learners and children. And that's awesome. I mean, that's really what we're after, right? And so the big problem with that is, how do we see understanding? Now, when I was doing my honors in anthropology and I was marking first year essays, what was the most difficult thing for me in that was seeing whether or not somebody actually understood it. I mean, many people would just plagiarize it and, they would get 0 for that. But there were still many students who seemed very bright, and all that they would do was go and grab the texts that we had recommended, maybe look for a few other articles, and they would just rewrite it slightly in their own words. Change a few words, paraphrase slightly, and then we're like, sweet, you're getting 80s, 90s, a great mark. But I didn't see if they really understood it. What I saw is that they know how to write. So how can we see understanding? Well, that's what this whole thing is about. That's what making thinking visible is all about. We want our children to get into the habit of making their thinking visible, of us being able to see it, them being able to see it, understand their thinking so that they can apply it to any situation, so that they can learn anything. And that's really what's important. Now in the 21st century, they're going to be changing careers a multitude of times. The jobs that they are going to have most likely don't even exist yet. They need to know how to adapt, apply the correct types of thinking so that they can do really well. I remember sitting in a big important meeting where a funder for the one school was like, cool, let's get our kids like the Ferraris of computers. Let's get them just the best equipment, the best of the best of the best. And I love that idea. That is so generous. That is so cool to be able to give a whole bunch of kids just the best possible equipment. That's phenomenal. But what I said was better is, let's give them stuff that they can break apart. Let's give them the cars that they can take apart and put back together so that they understand a car, so that they can not only drive any car, be it Ferrari
or Skadonkidonk Volkswagen Beetle. I had a Beetle, by the way. What a cool car. We want them to be able to fix, to be able to create, to drive, to do all of that. And that's why making thinking visible is so utterly important. Okay, so how do we start this off? Where do we go with this? Because this just sounds all very, up there, but what about in the actual classroom? Well, all of these tools that we're going to be looking at and routines and that are things that are going to accompany what you're doing. It's not going to replace the content that you're doing. You're not going to need to rewrite everything and change absolutely everything. These tools and these skills and these worksheets and activities that we're going to be going through are there to enhance what you're already teaching. So let's look at this first free one that we're going to look at, which is all about thinking about our thinking, or metacognition. We're going to be using that term a whole lot, and you can use it. Use it. If you're teaching grade 1s, use it. If you're teaching matric students, use it. This is a great way to start off their thinking, and you're going to see. Okay, so the first part of it is getting them to describe what is thinking. What is their understanding of thinking, which is not a very easy thing to define. I'm not even going to give you an answer. I want you to process that and think through that as well. And if you're not sure just yet, how are you going to research, and how are your students going to research and find out about it? But for this first one, you're just trying to establish what is their current thinking. The second step in this activity is going to be looking at drawing something that represents thinking, that shows thinking. What is thinking, and how would you show it? Let them draw something, make a metaphor, an analogy, which I absolutely love for making thinking visible. And then the third part, which is absolutely brilliant, you're going to see such a vital part of the thinking process and understanding process and making thinking visible process, and that is collaboration. And that is learning from others and taking ideas from others and understanding them. So the third one is get 3 sentences or 3 pictures or drawings that others in their class have done that they think is really, really good, that they agree with and they think is just solid and awesome. Okay, so you can see through this activity, what you're looking at is getting their thinking started, building on that a bit, and then learning from others and thinking with others. So let's just tie this off and conclude this and say that, yeah, remember, these are tools that are going to enhance your teaching. Stick with them, try them out, and please do let me know if you're struggling with any ways to integrate this, or you want more ideas with how you can integrate this. Please do let me know. All of these are accompanied by, yes, the worksheets, as well as a blog on homecode.co.za. All of that linked all around. You'll find it. Okay, explore, have fun, and I'll see you for the next one.